Hello, my health freedom loving friends. Miste Karlfeldt here with Health Freedom Idaho, and I'm here with my friend Christy Zito. Thank you for joining me, Christy.
Thank you so much for having me, Miste. I am really excited to be here with you. I think one of the very first videos I ever did, video interviews, when I very first went into the house was with you at the park.
Yes.
Across from the Capitol.
We were both really newbies at that time.
We were, and look at us now.
Oh my goodness. If I could have known then what I know now, I probably would have stopped right then.
No, you care too much.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Well, it's going to be hard for me to not really officially endorse you because you've done so many great things for health freedom, and you are absolutely an amazing warrior for liberty. But Health Freedom Idaho doesn't endorse. So what we're going to do is talk about what you have done for health freedom. We're going to help educate voters. And I believe when the voters are educated, they can make good decisions at the ballot box.
Exactly.
Oh, my goodness.
The truth, when they're educated with the truth and not some propaganda. So, yeah.
It's true. It's true. I really work hard to set the truth free. And I know you do as well. So just kind of going back in time, you first were a representative at the Capitol, right?
Yes, I was elected in 2016. So my first session was 2017. And then I served 4 years in the House and 2 years in the Senate. And then I retired to work for the Idaho Second Amendment Alliance to preserve, protect, and restore our full Second Amendment.
Amazing. Amazing. You've been a real champion for Second Amendment bills. I mean, you've carried them, right?
Yes, we were able to complete constitutional carry. It took 2 years while I was in office. The original constitutional carry went in 2016, but it didn't account for residents or citizens of the United States and those 18 and over. It was at the 21-year mark. If you're young enough or old enough to go into the military, make those kind of decisions, you're old enough to be able to carry a gun and defend yourself.
Yeah, agreed. Now, when you were in the House, I remember, and I looked back through the other day, you voted for all of the health freedom bills. Anything that we had, anything that was a health freedom minded bill, you voted in favor of that. And then when you get to the Senate, it's a little bit harder because we have a really hard time getting our bills to the Senate floor. But I know we had your support because we discussed these bills with you. But during your time in the House, that's actually when the whole COVID thing happened, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so there was a special session, and I remember there was something over 10. It was like 13 or 15 legislators that dared to show up during the special session, and you were one of them, which I appreciated very much.
Well, it's important. No government entity should have power over your health decisions and choices. And, we can see now that like the shot that was mandated, whether people want to admit it or not, there's a lot of bad stuff that's happening because of that happened at the time and is continuing to happen. It's not the proper role of government to tell you how to manage your own health care and that of your families. The COVID thing was just horrible. I don't know how many phone calls and emails I took. I would take phone calls in the night. I would have, and so I don't mean to start crying. If I do, forgive me. But I would have people call me in the night crying just in tears that their loved one, their spouse, their partner of like 50, 60 years was alone dying in a care facility or a hospital or nursing home. And they would have to watch them die, if that was even possible, through a window while the bed was held up so that they could see them through the window, and their grandkids or whatever were there. It was horrible. I spoke with so many care facilities that, they said, we are losing our people to loneliness. It's not because they have a disease. It's not because, they're dying of old age per se or anything. They are dying of loneliness because their family members are restricted from coming in here. And many of them would say, I would rather die from anything than to be here alone and isolated the way I am. Right. And we had so many people that lost their businesses and were put out of business. Small business owners and churches were told that they couldn't worship. This is just not the proper role of government. It's just not. So that was I think that was a really dark time in our country, and especially in Idaho, where, we're supposed to be the freest of the free.
Right. I know. I know. So a couple of the bills I think that when you get elected, you'll see at the Capitol is one of them is a mask bill that, government buildings cannot require a mask for entry. I'm assuming you would be in support of that bill, but can you speak to that?
Yes, I would be in support of a bill like that. If the mask works as well as people say it do, and you fear for yourself, then it's your responsibility to protect yourself. And if I feel like the mask isn't going to do me any good, then I should have the freedom for that option. And I think this is the thing that really bothers me about the mask thing is if they are effective and if they do work and you feel comfortable and that's what you want to do, wear it.
Yeah.
But please don't force your beliefs on me. That's a decision for me to make, not for you to make it for me. And government should never make that decision for the people. Put the information out there, leave us alone, let us make our own decisions, because I believe that we are smart enough to do that. I trust the citizens of the state of Idaho to make the decisions that work best for them.
Yes.
It's not my job to tell them how to live their lives, how to make their health freedom choices.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know that we were hoping that the goal of the session was to end the state of emergency. When we went into that emergency session, was to end the state. It was not accomplished, unfortunately, but if I understand right, you were there to help end the state of emergency.
Well, that was the idea, is, a call out to all legislators to show up so that, we could pass legislation that would end the state of emergency. Because what was the emergency? The only thing it did is it kept the federal money rolling in and rolling in and rolling in. Now, we're at a point now where it's either 42 or 43% of our budget, which is almost half of our state budget, is federal money. So what does that mean? That means that the federal government, whoever, Biden administration or whatever you want to call it, their alliances with the World Health Organization, with the United Nations, they have that much control over the state of Idaho. Anywhere that federal money goes, whether it's a grant or a pass-through, whatever funding you want to look at, they don't just give you that and say, gee, have a good time. We hope you enjoy however many billions or trillions of dollars we're going to throw your way. I don't know what the number's at now. I knew when I was serving. I don't now. No, that's not the way it works. It's just like I had a parent from Nampa School District call me this summer, even though I'm, not in the legislature. She said, there's I hope I get this right, a gal who is identifying as a boy. She goes in the boys' bathroom. She harasses the boys, and as parents, we don't want that. We're done with that. But the school said, well, we can't do anything about it because these regulations are tied to school lunch funding. And so if you don't follow their rules, then you lose the school lunch funding. That's the way it was explained to me when I called to check on it and find out why nothing could be done. And that's a really good example of what happens when we tie ourselves to any outside money from anywhere.
Yep.
It never comes without a string, never comes without something.
Yeah, absolutely. And it would have been great to end the state of emergency and end those federal dollars. I mean, we were advocating
just to free people, so that we could feel normal, so that we didn't have to worry about it, so that, we knew everything was okay, because it was okay. Yeah. It never wasn't okay, except for the restrictions that were put on us.
Right. And part of that was from our health districts. And one of the bills that we've tried for 2 legislative sessions now, and we'll try again, is regarding the health districts. And the health districts right now can do all things in the name of public health. Literally, it says in our law, can do all things. And the Health Freedom Idaho bill is just to line that out and say necessary and reasonable things. Is that a bill that you would support when we bring it again next year?
I will. I don't even know if it should go so far as to say necessary and reasonable, but I would support that, because at least it's a far swing better in the right direction than where we are now.
Right. I mean, the thing is right now, if they overstep, there's nothing there to go to court and say, well, they shouldn't have done this or they shouldn't have done that. They shut down my business. Well, it says they can do all things, right? So at least if it's necessary and reasonable, a person can go to the judicial and say, listen, this was not necessary and reasonable. Of course, I would like to see them totally all the way out, but we all know that's not going to happen. And so I think taking back something power to the people.
Well, like you said, giving an avenue for redress.
Yeah.
That's what's important. And
Yes.
and that was the excuse that was used during COVID. The governor would say, "Oh, I didn't do that. The Department of Health and Welfare did that, or the Central Health District did that, or this did that." You know, but no, he was one who signed us into that FEMA agreement. He signed those papers. That no matter how you look at it, he is the chief executive officer of the state of Idaho and the buck lands there.
Yeah, absolutely. And the departments fell right in line. So, okay, well, that covers all of that. Then you went to the Senate and then you retired. And so what is bringing you back in?
A lot of phone calls and a lot of prayer. You know, I was happy working for the Second Amendment Alliance. I love working on restoring our gun rights. I love knowing that, you know, that I have an ability to do something really positive, just like being in the legislature. But I never believed that these legislative jobs should be homesteaded. I don't think you should go there and serve until I have to roll you out in a wheelchair.
Yes.
You know, you go, you do your duty, you serve the people, and then you move on. And so that's what I did. But then my opponent's voting record, and I really don't like to talk bad about anybody or anything like that, but my opponent's voting record is so exceptionally Democrat, I guess. He votes like a California Democrat. And when people started to see that, my phone started to ring, you know, my friends would come and see me. People would just say, you know, you've got to come back. You've just got to come back. And I would say, well, there's got to be somebody who can do it. And they would say, yes, there is you. So I prayed about it again, and just like I did the first time I ran, and I spoke with people wise, you know, who have been engaged in politics in Idaho for a long time, and who watch what goes on and happens, and I got their opinions, and that seemed to be the opinion that I should come back. So, you know, I've got a good team. We're working really, really hard, putting out signs. We have a huge legislative district. So, for example, not this past week, but the week before, I had 2 meet and greets in Mountain Home. I was in Valley County twice. I take all kinds of phone calls. I answer all kinds of emails from people, because I think, you know, that's what you do. I will never have someone call me and I will never say to them, well, I'm a legislator. I know best. You just go back and listen to what I have to say. It's important to me what you think, because I might not know. I mean, maybe there's something I missed about a piece of legislation, or maybe something I didn't catch, or maybe you have information that I don't, or, you know, who knows what it will be, but I want to know. I want to know what people think and how they feel.
I can speak to that myself, because I've called you multiple times about all kinds of bills, and you always take my call. And I'm not even in your district, but I will say I've been to a couple of your meetings out in your district. I've been invited to speak on a thing or two, or I've been there, but you are beloved. You can feel it in the room. The people of your district absolutely adore you. And there's a reason for that, because when you're there at the Capitol, they feel represented by you. They feel that they have access to their representation. That was the feeling I got from the people in the room. And I feel the same way, and I'm not even your constituent.
Well, that's the way I want it to be. When I sit in that chair, I want you to feel like that's you in that chair. I want you to feel like that your voice has been heard, that the vote that I make would be the vote that you would make. Now, is that going to happen every time for everybody in the district? No, it's not. But at least I want you to feel like that your opinion was heard, and that I will explain my position to you, and we can work it out from there. I'm no different than anybody else. I put my jeans on one leg at a time. I'm a mom. I'm a grandma. I have dogs that run around my house. You know, I'm just everybody. And when I'm at the Capitol, I am the only person there in the Senate lobbying for the citizens of Legislative District 8. there's lobbyists for schools and lobbyists for school boards and lobbyists for dairies and lobbyists for cow feeders and lobbyists for big businesses and lobbyists for Micron and lobbyists for, I mean, you name it.
Yeah.
I forget even what the number of lobbyists that are listed in the little green. It used to be a lobby book. Now they're legislative advisors, which I think is wrong to call them that, because they're paid to come there and influence. They're not paid. They're not paid by the government to research and advise. They're paid by a business with an agenda to come there and talk legislators into voting the way they want them to vote. Now, there are some there that I just adore. There are some of the people in the lobby corps that I would trust. I trust their opinion. I trust your opinion. There are a couple of others that I trust implicitly. I know that they would never do anything that would hurt the state of Idaho. And then there are others that I'm just not so sure about. And it's not that I don't like them. It's not that I'm questioning their integrity, but they're there to do a job.
Yeah.
And I need to make sure that I'm there to do my job. I'm there to lobby for the citizens of the state of Idaho. I'm there with a fiduciary responsibility with their money. I'm there to make sure that their tax dollars are well spent. I'm there to make sure that they are unregulated enough that they can make a living in the way that they see fit. I'm there to make sure that they can keep their homes. I'm there to make sure that they take home enough of their paycheck that they can live and live well and take care of their babies while they're doing it. That's my job.
Yeah. Yeah. And speaking of babies, you have been somebody that has taken action when you're called upon regarding CPS wrongfully removing children from their homes. I know that you helped Brandon's mom in the Bring Brandon Home case, and even baby Cyrus. So there have been times that people outside of your district have called just looking for anybody to help, anybody to listen, anybody to make a phone call for them. And you, whether you've been a representative or a senator or even not having one of those titles, have made phone calls and taken action. I really just want all of Idaho to know that about you, because not everybody will do that. Speaking of crying.
Well, it's important. It's very important because, I get that in the theory, the intent in theory is to protect the children. But there are so many things we need to look at. And when I first went into the legislature, I spoke with a lot of foster parents. Yeah. And I spoke with a lot of parents who had children in the foster system. I spent a lot of time learning how this all works. And I understand that there are two sides to every story. I mean, I get that. There's this side. Well, I guess there are three. So a wise man told me once, he said, it's an awful thin pancake to not have two sides. And I live by that motto. So there's the parent side, there's the CPS side, and then the truth is here. But what happens, not just everybody can call and get the information from the government to find out what's going on. And the system is huge and convoluted, and there's an attorney for the child and an attorney for the parents and an attorney for CPS, and then there's a guardian ad litem, and I think there's an attorney for them, and there's an attorney for the foster parents. And this process is so deep and so huge and so intimidating. And who has the money to battle that? I don't know how many tens of thousands of dollars Christine put into that. What if she wouldn't have had that money?
Yeah, well.
What if she wouldn't have had that? And, I took her, she had kept a file on everything on that child.
Yeah.
And I took that and I went to the Department of Health and Welfare. And because I was the legislator, in confidence, I can't share what I learned, but I was able to discuss that case with them. And I think there were some things that kind of were found during that discussion that may have made it a little bit easier for her at the time.
Well, that is amazing.
You got to have somebody on your side.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And a parent in that position feels and doesn't really have anybody on their side. So I just really appreciate you that you'll take time out of your busy life and schedule to help an individual like that when the government is interfering in the parent-child relationship, and get to the bottom of it and see what can be done. So anyway, from the bottom of my heart, dear, thank you so much.
Oh, Misty, I'm just so glad that you ladies are out there, and I'm so grateful for what you do. Again, You advocate for people. You advocate for the citizens. And that's so important because we just can't leave each other alone. We've got to be there for each other. We've got to buoy each other up. We've got to have each other's back.
Yeah.
And I think that probably will become more and more important instead of less and less important as we continue down the road that we see our state and our country traveling.
Yes. And on a different note, one of the things I would really like you to share with the people who are watching this and maybe in Idaho or outside of Idaho, but I think the way that you decide whether you're going to vote for a bill or not is something that everybody should model after. So can you share that, how you decide whether or not you're going to vote for a bill?
Yes, yeah, I will, because I keep this hanging on the wall in my office when I was in office. And I know I'm going to miss one or two, but you'll get the gist of it. Okay, so the first thing is it constitutional? Okay, because I mean, that's bottom line. Our law should be constitutional. Number two, just because it's legal, is it moral? Things can be legal,
True,
but not be moral. And that's really important. Who does it help? Who does it hurt? What do my constituents think about it? And then I think another thing that I'm really considering adding to that is the Idaho Constitution says that the law shall be written in the plain language of the people. Now, why do I have to go spend thousands of dollars on an attorney just to know if I'm breaking the law or not?
Good point.
So that might be something I'll add to my list. But those are the ones, and I really liked one. Just because it's legal, does that mean it's moral?
I know some of the legislators at the Capitol, I'll hear them say, well, this person voted for my bill, so I need to vote for their bill, even if it's not a very good bill. So does that mean if you're judging a bill by your standards there, does that mean you don't participate in she voted for my bill, so I have to vote for her she voted for my bill, so I have to vote for her bill?
Yeah, no, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
No. Why would you do that? Why would you? I've heard rumor that there have been some pretty bad bills that people have agreed to vote for in order to get hearings on pretty bad bills. And it's all just rumor and hearsay. I do know I have a good friend who served that actually happened to twice. They came and said, well, we'll give this bill a hearing if we can get your commitment on this one over here. I won't do that. I don't get asked to do that because I think people there already know that I'm not going to. I'm just not going to. If you can't do the right thing, if you can't vote for a bill because it's the thing to do, if you can't work to get legislation through because it's the thing to do, then you shouldn't be there. But when I was working on the protecting kids from the transgender agenda and the abortion bill that would stop state funds from going to people who did business with abortion providers, there was actually a sitting legislator who was a committee chairman who said more than once, if my name was on the bill, it would not get a hearing. Now, is that serving the best interest of the people, or is that serving another agenda? I think that's a little extreme. I know I get called an extremist, but I think stuff like that is a little extreme.
Right.
And it's unfortunate that stuff like that happens there. And it should never happen there.
That's why I think if people had a list like you have and have it on their wall and they just stick to that all the time and not let all of this other muckety muck get in their mind about, well, he did this for me and I'm supposed to do that, or somebody's name's on it. I know Brian Lenny faced that as well this last legislative session. It's like, if his name was on it, then it wasn't going to go through. How is that actually representing the people of your district and supporting the Constitution?
It's not. It's playing kindergarten politics.
Yeah, kindergarten.
That's exactly what it is. Kindergarten politics. And I admire Brian. I think he's done an amazing job. I think he stayed very strong and very solid. And it is not easy to do that when you get there. Everybody promises, oh, I'm a conservative, I'm going to vote conservative and I'm not going to sway and I'm going to be strong and, I'll do what's right. And then you get there and you get in that environment of, I did hear this once. You play your cards right, and we can see you being chairman of this or chairman of that, or or, you know, if you want to get this legislation through to take it back, I didn't hear this one, but I have heard about this one. You want to get this piece of legislation through and it'll help your district, you know, you just play your cards right and we'll see what we can get done for you. The one that I disliked the most is when I was very first in office. I had more than one legislator who had been there for a while come to me and say, you know, you just need to keep your head down and just go along and get along and learn the ropes and you'll be just fine. And I'm like, so what you're saying is because I haven't served, this person hasn't served as long, my legislative district's voice is not as important as yours because you've been there longer.
Good for you.
No, I mean, that's not that seat. I am not that seat. I am the person occupying that position to represent those people. I don't own that seat. I don't own that title. I wear that title while I'm elected into that position to be the voice for those people, but I don't own that. That's not mine. I am the bearer of that name for that very short period of time that I'm there. Well,
I think that's the perfect place to end it. And I think people can understand why I love you so much.
Oh, I love you, Misty. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful for the hard work that you ladies do. Just so grateful. I remember when I went to DC with you and you had made all these arrangements to go see all of our congressional delegation. And we went into one office and we were met with some young person who didn't really care. And we went to another office and they just kind of blew us off. And we went to Fulcher's office and he was there and spoke to us. And then we went to Senator Rich's office and remember how gracious his people, he had his chief of staff there. But you ladies are so serious about what you do and you will do whatever it takes to protect the health freedoms of the citizens of the state of Idaho. And that's impressive.
Well, whenever I need filled back up and renewed that there are actually good legislators at our Capitol, you're the one that I talk to. So I'm going to be excited to have you back there because when I see your face there, I just know there's at least one voice that's voting right and standing firm, even though sometimes I will say by the end of the session, I can see that they've worn you out.
Well, I think I'm in a little bit better shape now than I was at the end of that one session.
Oh,
that's a story for a different day. We got through it. We did good. I think we stayed strong until the end.
Well, you did. You stayed absolutely strong until the end, which is admirable. And I have to say, I don't see that very often. You are one of the most true, genuine representatives of the people that I've seen there literally ever since 2015. So again, I know I'm not supposed to endorse, but I said it's going to be hard for me to not say exactly how I feel about Christy Zito because she's a true statesman for the people. That's when I think of what our representation is supposed to look like, it's what I see you demonstrate. So anyway, thank you, friend. God bless you. I'll be praying for you. I hope that your constituents in your district see this video, and if health freedom is important to them, that they'll understand where you stand on health freedom in Idaho.
Well, I appreciate it, Misty. Thank you so much. And God bless you and God bless everybody watching. And, I pray God holds us in our hand and in his hand and sees us through.
Amen. Amen. Well, bye for now, everybody. Get out there and vote May 21st. Bye for now.